Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. I was thinking about the word deep dive, and it made me think about how much I love scuba diving. But you know what I don't love? Um, Trying to find parking at the beach.
Oh, I hear you there. That can definitely put a damper on a fun day out.
Absolutely. But luckily, parking was out. We've got a fascinating topic to dive into today, and I'm Hari, excited to be your host.
And I'm Kimi, thrilled to be joining you all today as the expert.
So for this deep dive, we'll be taking a journey back in time to early 20th century Shanghai, where we'll be exploring a pictorial magazine called The True Record, or as it's known in Chinese, Zhengxiang Huabao.
Yes, and although it didn't last for very long, this magazine holds a special place in the world of Chinese publications, especially given that it came out during a period of huge change and upheaval in China.
Exactly. And thankfully, we've got some awesome listener-provided sources that cover all sorts of things like its founders, its mission, the stuff it talked about, you name it.
All of which will help us understand why this short-lived magazine is considered so significant in the grand scheme of Chinese publishing history, and what it can tell us about the cultural and political landscape of China during the early years of the Republic.
Right, so let's set the stage a bit first. So, as many of you probably know, the Qing dynasty had been in decline for quite a while, and then bam, in 1911, the Wuchang Uprising kicks off, and things really start to change.
That uprising was truly a pivotal moment, quickly spreading throughout the country and ultimately reshaping the political scene in China.
Enter Yuan Shikai, the head honcho of the Beiyang army, who at first was supposed to squash this whole rebellion thing.
Yeah, he was initially all for suppressing the uprising, but then, in a pretty clever move, he ends up switching sides and negotiates the abdication of the last king emperor, Puyi.
Talk about a power play, and that paved the way for, you guessed it, the Republic of China.
Officially established on January 1st, 1912, a date that marks the beginning of a whole new chapter in Chinese history. And of course, the provisional president at this time was none other than Sun Yat-sen, the charismatic leader of the Dongmenghui.
Now let's meet the masterminds behind the True Record. Brothers Gao Qifeng and Gao Jianfu, both incredibly talented artists from Guangdong province.
And not only were they talented artists, but they were also deeply involved in the revolutionary movement, having joined the Tongmenghui while studying in Japan.
And here's a little fun fact. Gao Jianfu actually led a secret revolutionary cell that was, let's just say, involved in some pretty, shall we say, intense activities.
Activities which included, believe it or not, assassinations, a less known aspect of their lives that adds a whole other layer to their story.
Totally. So getting back to the magazine, its mission statement, as laid out in the very first issue, is super ambitious. They wanted to keep tabs on this brand new republic, make sure the people were doing okay, promote socialist ideas, which were becoming pretty popular among intellectuals at the time, and basically share knowledge from all over the world.
Absolutely. They really wanted to be a powerful voice in shaping this new society, both by informing people and by advocating for certain ideals.
What really set this magazine apart from the others, though, was its cutting-edge production. They use a combo of copperplate printing, which, makes the illustrations really crisp and detailed, and collotype, which is like a super fancy way of reproducing photos.
This was a huge step up from the traditional woodblock printing that was common back then. Plus, get this, each issue had a whopping 7 different types of imagery, from traditional paintings and photographs to satirical manhua, kind of like early comics.
Wow, they really went all out. And looking at the magazine's content, you can see that they covered a wide range of topics from both traditional and modern art and big events happening both in China and around the world to the latest in tech, politics, and even creative writing.
Yeah, they weren't afraid to tackle pretty much anything, which shows just how much they wanted to engage with their readers on an intellectual and cultural level.
And one thing that really stands out is how forward-thinking they were. Like, they were all about creating a new national art that would reflect the new republic, and they were huge proponents of boosting the economy through industrial arts.
Definitely, and this really speaks to the whole atmosphere of the time. People were rethinking pretty much everything about China and its future.
It's crazy to think that this magazine, which only ran for less than a year, managed to build such a huge network. I mean, first, they were all over China with offices in Shanghai and Guangdong, but then they branched out to Singapore and even Honolulu, Hawaii.
It's true. They had a global outlook that was pretty uncommon for a magazine published in that era. And on that note, starting with the 3rd issue, they went bilingual, adding The True Record as the English title, and including English captions for all the images.
It's like they were trying to connect with an international audience right from the start, which, isn't something you see a lot in publications from that time.
No, it's not. And politically, they were very much aligned with their founders' revolutionary roots. They were super supportive of Sun Yat-sen and the Nationalist Party. And as Yuan Shikai started to grab more and more power and crack down on the nationalists, they became more and more critical of him.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, right? The True Record was shut down after only 17 issues, which, bummer, I know. And this happened right around the time when political censorship was getting really bad. And of course, there was the assassination of Song Jiren, a key figure in the Nationalist Party who was very vocal about his opposition to Yuan Shikai.
Now, some folks say that the magazine was directly banned by the government because of its critical stance. But others believe that it might have been a combination of things, like losing government funding or not being able to attract enough advertisers.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure what the exact cause was, but either way, it's sad to see a publication with so much potential cut short.
Absolutely. But even though it had a short run, the True Record's legacy is pretty undeniable. It's seen as one of the first and most influential illustrated magazines in the Republic of China and is widely regarded as the very first art journal of that era.
Some even say it marks the real beginning of photography being used in a major way in Chinese pictorial magazines, which is pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah, and the way they combined photography with other types of art was really innovative for the time and contributed to a whole new way of thinking about truth in Chinese visual culture.
It's fascinating how the introduction of new technology, like photography, can completely change how we see and understand the world around us.
Absolutely, and the True Record, even though it only existed for a short while, gives us a really valuable window into this incredibly dynamic period in Chinese history.
Yeah.
It shows how art, politics, and the idea of national identity were all being shaped by these new forms of media.
Definitely something to think about. So folks, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the True Record. It's been a real pleasure exploring this fascinating piece of history with you.
We hope you enjoyed it and learned something new today.
And be sure to join us next time for another exciting deep dive into a brand new subject.
Until then, happy exploring, everyone.
Take care.